In order, ask Commissioner Harden if you'll lead us in the invocation and the pledge, please.
Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for this day. Thank you, Lord, for all the ways that you bless us and watch over us. Thank you, Lord, for the rain that you send us. And Lord, I ask that you, as we go throughout the meeting, that you would just bless and guide us and help us to make the best decision we can for our county. Thank you for the opportunity to be here to serve. Lord, we ask all these things in your name, Lord Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you all for coming out tonight. If you'd like to speak, we have two different citizens to be heard options, one in the beginning, one at the end of the meeting. You can do either or. Please fill out a speaker card with Ms. Patty, and also you can fill out a card to speak on each agenda item. And this time, do we have any changes to the agenda?
I do, Mr. Chairman. Just opening up the computer here. I know on my agenda item, I would like it to be moved to the awards, after the awards and presentation, if that's possible.
You want to do it at the same time the presentation is being done?
That'd be fine.
So, number 8. Okay. Anything else?
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Start out with citizens to be heard. First up, Mr. Bob Danzy.
Well, thank you for this opportunity, this time during the meeting. I wanted to, I wouldn't say I'm the official spokesperson for, well, the oyster industry, but I did want to say that last Monday night we had a meeting at the WEI, or Wakulla Environmental Institution building, the new building down on 319, and we had some really dignitaries, I would call them. We had the president of TCC, I think Mr. Jerry Moore was there, and we had a lady from Florida, the University of Florida, a guy from FAMU that's a professor. It really was a neat thing, and to see the people that were there that were supporting it was even neater. But there was two people there that impressed me, that they're on board apparently with it, and the first one is Miss Dana Peck, and the second one is Crooked Kessler. He was there. Now, I don't say Crooked Kessler like the reason you might think. That's his street name. What it is because his signs are crooked. So that's just what I guess what his name is now. So, but they were there supporting it, and I know there had been some opponents of the oyster industry, and I just wanted to give them a thanks, Commissioner Moore, and then the other people from the other universities that were there. Just let them know that as a county we appreciate them for coming down and having the environmental institution in Wakulla County. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, Miss Nikki Barnes.
I don't know I taught Mr. Danzy in bringing out street names, but that gave me the giggle that I needed today. So, Nikki Barnes, 287 Rebel Road. So I missed the last meeting because I was traveling for business, but I wanted to share something that I learned while I was away, or that I saw while I was away, and then talk about some of the things that I saw in the video for last meeting a couple weeks ago. So, and this is regarding our senior center. As many of you are aware, I've been an advocate for seniors for a long time. If it's God's will, I hope to be one day, and when I get to that age, I want things to be just perfect so I can retire with dignity. So I've been a strong advocate for Social Security and its expansion, Medicaid expansion, working for our seniors that are still part of the working poor, retirement, anything that makes life better in your golden years. So when I was in my Canada call center last week on one of their boards, there was a quote up there, and I wanted to bring it to today's meeting and share it with you guys and with the audience here and at home. And it said there's a difference between interest and commitment. When you're interested in doing something, you do it only when it's convenient. When you are committed to something, you accept it. You accept no excuses, only results. And when I think about what I've heard about our senior center last week when I was advocating for additional tax dollars, advocating for additional resources to ensure they have a meal, that bothers me. So first I want to say thank you for extending the money they needed to make ends meet, but I'm going to ask you to go a step further and figure out what happened. You know, when you pull the $990 for the senior center, you see that at one point in time they had over $1 million in reserves. What happened? What happened that's now causing our seniors to have to leave their homes and come up here and beg for $20,000 to extend resources to our most vulnerable in our community? What happened? What happened that now we're not even sure if they can make it next year? Are the grants decreasing? You know, are you guys having these conversations and you're just not making them public? What happened? And most importantly, what can we do as a community? After seeing that, I've already booked the senior center for an event next month. I'm sure people will start booking them for different events and reserving space to help them build money. But what else? What else can we do, and what else can we ensure that this doesn't happen again? You know, I'm not against the money going to them, but that doesn't solve the problem. That's just a temporary solution, and we need to get to the root cause of what happened with that industry and how we can make it even better. And on top of that, I ask that you guys, in this election cycle, really reach out to those you're voting for at the state and at the federal level and tell them this is more than evident that our seniors need a cost of living increase. We cannot afford to cut Social Security. They need to have that 2.9% increase. Hearing that seniors in our community go home and have a cracker made me so upset that this is even more evident. The time is now. So I'm asking you again, take it a step further, figure out what happened, and then advocate for a change.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Bill Anderson.
Just in response to one of the earlier speakers, when there's a public meeting in the county, just because you attend the meeting does not mean you're in favor of whatever is being discussed at that meeting. My comments that I want to relate to tonight or relate to the senior citizen request for additional funds and what I believe is your total lack of oversight of that request. No one questions whether seniors should receive meals. There's no doubt about that, they should. And I'm not questioning the past board's actions. What I'm questioning is your oversight of that. Earlier you have approved $20,000 in additional taxpayer funds to be used without restricting in any way or limiting how those funds can be used. They asked you for meals, but you put no restrictions on those whatsoever. Some of the questions I think you should ask are, why did the center run a deficit of over $96,000 and $142,563 in its last 2 years of reported operation? Why does the center need 57 employees with a payroll over $1 million to operate? Why did the compensation increase from the last 2 reported years over 12.5%, or $116,149? You haven't asked these or any pertinent questions. I think you've given the county employees approximately 2% raises, and you had a workshop before you gave the deputies any money. Now you're contributing in effect to the overcompensation by the Senior Citizen Board of their over 12.5%, where they then ran a deficit and can't provide the meals, and you're funding the meals, in effect approving their compensation increases. How do you justify this to the county employees or to your deputies? You're taking money from the reserves that you wouldn't give them, and you're giving it to the employees of the Senior Citizen Center without asking any pertinent questions. One of the things in the last meeting, the chairman said in effect this was a public-private partnership. If that's true, you ought to exercise a lot more scrutiny over what's going on over there than is. You've committed the taxpayers to co-sign the mortgage over there. You're already contributing money. Now you're contributing another $20,000. What oversight are you giving it? Commissioner Harden, you said that the seniors were there for us. Now we need to be there for the seniors. I agree with that, but you also need to be with the county employees and the deputies that are getting raises and are hardly getting anything, while you're in effect compensating the people over there over $1 million a year in compensation. They raised it from the last 2 reported years over 12.5%, while you're keeping the county employees hardly anything. Is that fair? Is it something should be scrutinized? Should you be making a donation to the senior citizen thing, or should you be making a loan to them? So if they get their compensation corrected, they'll have surplus funds again, and maybe can repay that. That way you might give something to the county. And finally, if I may, they have to file a 990 form every year that shows their expenditures, their number of employees, etc. I think when you give money to any third-party organization, such as the Senior Citizen Center, you ought to put their financial statement, like their 990, on the county website so that taxpayers can see how their money's being spent. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, Mr. Chuck Hess.
Chuck Hess, 112 Lake Ellen Circle. Last meeting I came to you about the widening of 319 and your plans for that. It was basically, I went and did a little more research. It seems like we're a long way down the road on this, that it's all been left in David Edwards' under David Edwards' care, and I'm really calling on you to have a workshop to see where we're at, what items we can still influence, because this is the most important decision for the growth of Wakulla County and the growth of Crawfordville for the next 50 years, okay? And you shouldn't be leaving it up to your administrators and your staff. You should be actually having a policy and what you want to accomplish with this. Their job is to implement your policy, not to create your policy. So I would really encourage you to have a workshop, discuss this, find out where you're at, and see what you can do about this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Last speaker, Mr. Josh Roberts.
Hello, I'd like to address the board. I'm a vendor. I operate Eli Roberts & Sons. We're currently the fuel hauler for the Public Works Department. We had a bid go out about a couple weeks ago, and we were outbid on it fair and square. But I did a little research. The company that outbid us is a national company, basically a paper trader. They will go and contract fuel into a terminal, and they'll get third-party carriers to haul that for them, whereas we have a physical presence in the Tri-County area. We employ over 8 Wakulla County residents, and I did some figuring. We were underbid on the gasoline, and we bid lower on the diesel. Eli Roberts bid lower on the diesel. They bid lower on the gasoline. In this case, the math I did, and I encourage y'all to check my figures, as an approximate number was about $2,500 a year difference between our bid and theirs. And in the past, we have come to the Public Works Department. We fixed the Fuel Master system. We have 2 dedicated Fuel Master techs on Eli Roberts' payroll, and we've worked on the pumps. Believe we've only ever billed for parts. So I look at our company as kind of an insurance policy. I'm not going to, they beat my number fair and square, but I do want to encourage y'all to look at, in the event of a hurricane like the one we just came through, I'd encourage y'all to go to EGS and see if they had any complaints or concerns. I will assure you they did not. They had plenty of fuel. We actually brought a load in, I believe, the day before the storm came through. So I just hope that I can influence y'all's decision a little bit and look at us as an insurance policy. Please do crunch the numbers. And I don't want to throw rocks by any means, but in the past, y'all have been cared for by a national outfit fuel company, and in that time, Eli Roberts was called upon to bring y'all fuel because that company, which was a different one, I believe, from the one that got it now, but the same conceptual business model, and I believe once or twice Eli Roberts had to come down and deliver fuel because the Works Department was out and unable to receive any. So just wanted to bring that to y'all's attention. I know when you look at figures, and I totally understand that $2,500 is quite a bit of money, but I hope that we show enough value that maybe y'all would reconsider us.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That is the end of citizens to be heard. We'll go into our public hearing session. This is the second of two required public hearings on the Wakulla County budget for fiscal year 2016-2017. If you wish to speak during the public hearing portion of the meeting, please step forward at the appropriate time. Fill out a speaker card, please. The final aggregate millage rate is 8.25 mils, which is 1.83% less than the aggregate rollback millage rate of 8.4035 mils. Now the county administrator will read the final millage rate into the public record.
The proposed Board of County Commissioners of Wakulla County final countywide millage rate is 8.2500 mils, which is 1.83% less than the countywide rolled back millage rate of 8.4035 mils.
I'm opening up the floor for a motion to begin the public hearing.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any discussion? All in favor?
When's it?
This is just to open the public hearing.
Okay, just open it.
All right, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. At this time, the individuals that have turned in a speaker card to the clerk are allowed to speak. We'll start out with Mr. Chuck Hess.
Chuck Hess, 112 Lake Island Circle. You know, I've already, in workshop, I explained to you why I think PST and CST are better taxes to cut than our millage rate. 35% of the parcels in the county are paid for, owned in the county are paid for, have taxes, and taxes are paid by people from outside the county. And, you know, y'all are moving ahead with the millage rate cut, but one of the justifications you gave last week, one of the members of the board said that 50% of the people in the county don't pay any property taxes. Now, I knew at the time that was wrong, and I'm really appalled when you come out with numbers that are obviously wrong and nobody questions it, and it even made it into the newspaper. This is, you know, if you really want the number, there's 12,000 residential parcels in the county. 1,200 of them don't pay any property taxes, and a large portion of those people that don't pay property taxes because they're disabled. But however you want to do it is less than 10%. So when you come up with a number like 50%, okay, all you are is misleading and not being truthful with our county citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bill Anderson.
I ran out of time a minute ago in the Senior Citizen Center, but there was one other thing that I wanted to say which directly relates to the budget, and that is on at least two previous occasions, and maybe tonight, Commissioner Moore is going to vote on this issue. He has not abstained from that vote or disclosed that his wife is both a director and an officer of the Senior Citizen Center. He's put those $20,000 payments. You've put no on whatsoever. He has a clear conflict of interest in this, and I wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
This vote we're fixing to take now is the millage rate, not the budget, correct?
Well, first we're going to vote on closing the public hearing, if we get a motion for that.
When's the time for commissioners to talk? After we close it?
After.
That motion to close it.
Motion to close. Do we have a second? Second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Florida statutes require the board to address the final millage rate before addressing the final budget. The board must vote on the millage rate and the budget separately. I will now entertain the following motions. Motion number 1, approve the Board of County Commissioners fiscal year 2016-2017 final countywide millage rate of 8.25 mils.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Now, millage rate?
Yeah, so, you know, it's obvious that I disagree with the formula that's being used and that the ad valorem is what is being addressed. And a millage rate reduction may or may not result in a tax reduction. That is an individual thing that you'll have to look at your own tax bill and how it reflects there. I think the millage rate is not the way to go on this, but I will be voting for it because that's the majority of the vote that's going to be going in that direction. So I will be voting for the reduction in the millage rate, but it is unfair to the citizens of the county, and I'll explain that later.
Thank you, sir. Further discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to ask our attorney. My wife is a volunteer, but she's on the board of directors at the senior center. Does that interfere with my vote?
Only if there is the possibility of a financial gain or loss to you by reason of that vote.
Do that again.
Would you make or lose money
No.
pursuant to that vote? That's what the voting conflict of interest hones
Yes.
in on those.
Absolutely.
Now,
She's not a salaried employee. She's a volunteer totally.
okay. Then you shouldn't have an issue with voting on the matter tonight.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Now entertain the following motion. Approve the Board of County Commissioners fiscal year 2016-2017 final countywide budget as presented by the Administrator on July 15, 2016, and as amended through the agenda process today.
So move, one change to take the sheriff's department money that said we were going to put in reserve, go ahead and put it straight in their budget and not set it in reserve, go ahead and give it to them so they can go ahead and do their raise. Like y'all got everything worked out.
Do we have a second on that?
I second.
Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye.
What are we voting on now? I just want to
The budget
make
itself.
sure. I want to make sure that we have room for discussion for commissioners. Is this our time for discussion right now?
Yeah, well, you didn't vote, correct?
No.
So we just cancel that vote? Okay, let's go into discussion.
He said discussion and
Yeah.
went straight
Okay.
to the...
Okay. So, so we've been very tight as a county commission when giving raises to our employees. And how we spend the taxpayer dollars is very important. Our county board budget, our budget that we create, is very transparent. Our citizens have easy access. They can see how their tax dollars are being spent. When the board decides to donate taxpayer dollars to non-county organizations, it should not only have the needed information to make a proper decision, but it should, at a minimum, require that those non-county organizations provide official information to show how the taxpayer dollars are going to be spent and are being spent. In addition, well, I should say this, just spending money is not responsible governance if you don't know how those tax dollars are being spent. So organizations can provide the county with the information of how they spend their money, which would include any money the county gives to them. That information can be put on the county website, and our citizens can see that information. Our board should have that information. As a responsible board, we need that information to make a decision. And the taxpayers whose money is being spent, they have the right to know how their money is being spent. So these are the standards that I use when I consider making a decision to donate, to invest, or to loan money of any significant amount of my own money. And I would suggest that we as a board act at least at this level with the taxpayer money. So that's one point that I want to put on the record. The second point is the larger issue of the budget. I will be voting against this budget because it uses a formula that is not in the best interest of the county or of its citizens. A millage reduction of .25 mils does not provide the tax relief that our citizens need. Property tax reduction only provides tax relief to a portion of our county's residents because one-third of our landowners live outside the county. A reduction in the tax on the people's electricity, water, propane, and diesel fuel would provide tax relief to 100% of our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moore.
Howard, when you go into those elaborate descriptions, always say that it's in your opinion. Don't talk for me for sure, but it's always your opinion that these things are not correct.
Further discussion?
I'm not adverse to what Howard said about it. I see his point that if we're going to give taxpayers monies, we should at least get to see some sort of budget. Now, I don't think we're justified to see people's salaries any more than we're allowed to see Florida Association of County. We can't ask them to provide everybody's salary that works there, even though we give them money. So, but I understand his point, and it's taken, well taken.
Commissioner, in the case of 501c3s, the 990s are public record, and citizens can get them. It takes work for them to get them, but they can get them. I suggest that we as a board should obtain that before we go and make decisions on expending taxpayer dollars, and that information should also be easily provided to the citizens on our website.
Did you request that information from the senior center? Mr. Carter?
Mr. Moore, I requested information from the senior center. I'm not going to get down into the weeds of this. You know that I've been working on this as far as not just the senior center. This is not an issue that I take with the senior center, okay? So don't paint the issue of, just because you question how we're spending taxpayer dollars doesn't mean you're for or against anything. It means you want to have responsible government, and that's what I'm suggesting. If you don't want responsible government and you want to make decisions without that information, then do so.
Did the senior center not supply you with all the information that you requested?
They provided a lot of information, not all that I requested.
Commissioner Cash, are you voting against the entire budget simply because of the one issue with the Senior Citizen Center?
No.
Apparently, you did not listen to me, Commissioner Harden. I said my issue is with the formula that the board is using in the construction of this budget. Using a reduction in ad valorem as opposed to reducing a tax that affects all our citizens and a portion of our citizens. The electricity, the water, the propane, the diesel fuel affects all of our citizens. 100% of our citizens use electricity. I don't know anyone who does not. 100% of our citizens use one or more of the other utilities. They're essentials to living. And that's my objection, is the formula that's being used.
I stand by the decision, both decisions, the decision to support the Senior Citizen Center with the $20,000, because I believe that's the board using the funds that we have available to us in order to help those who are in most need. And I also defend my decision to reduce the ad valorem tax versus the public service tax and the communications tax. Simple. Those things. The only way that the ad valorem tax can be reduced is if we, the board, does that. But if there's other things that are choice factors. I got to looking at my own bills. I actually brought them tonight. Matter of fact, I brought my DirecTV bill. I brought my Duke Energy bill. I brought my CenturyLink bill. I was just wanting to look at the actual numbers of what it is that me personally, this past month, my CenturyLink bill, the amount of money that was communication service tax was 50 cents. The DirecTV bill, the amount of money that was collected from that was around 20 cents. And on the palatable. The total amount that was collected was around $10.60. So, you know, I look at it, even if we do a reduction of those things, how much of a reduction is it really going to be? You know, and I stand by my decision, but I think that the ad valorem tax is the best way to pass savings on to our citizens.
Not to be argumentative about this, I almost hate to say it. We've already set the tax rates. We just did the millage rate. The PST's already been set. We're voting on how do we spend the money we're collecting from citizens. We're not voting on whether it's via ad valorem or PST or CST. That's already been decided. We're voting on, is the budget that's laid out a wise way to spend taxpayers' dollars, not how we collect the money. We're beyond that. We've already gotten that settled.
Further discussion? Nope. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Passes 4-1. That ends our public hearing portion. Next, we'll go into awards and presentation. We'll start out with Mr. John Sewell with Kinley Horn.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
Call him Quick John Sewell. That's his nickname.
All right, thank you. I'm here tonight to give you a quick update, a brief update on the Wakulla Airport State Environmental Impact Report that we're currently working on. We started work on this at the beginning of the year. Things are progressing well. We are working closely with our FDOT folks in District 3 in Chipley. We've also been working with some of our specialized sub-consultants working on some of the various parts to this. All of that is starting to come together pretty well. As I mentioned in the last update, we submitted the project through the Efficient Transportation Decision-Making tool that's available through the Environmental Management Office at DOT. Even though it wasn't necessarily required, we decided to just take a higher step at this. Instead of going through the advanced notification tool process, which is a little briefer, we decided to kind of run it through the ETDM process. That process is winding down. The 60-day time period for that is ending this week. I do not know the exact number of days, but we are expecting the ETDM comments to come back from that environmental committee here in the next week or two. And basically what happens in that process is the Florida Department of Environmental Protection has a person who sits on that committee and reviews these documents. Same thing with historic preservation, and all of those different agencies get this documentation from us. We send that, and that was posted on your website some weeks back. They review that information and then provide comments. And then basically what we do with those comments is we incorporate and address those comments in all of our documentation. So that process is starting right now, so we will be addressing those ETDM comments here in the next few weeks. We expect to have a draft SEER document in the latter part of next month, and then we will provide that to Wakulla County staff. They will review it, provide us with comments, questions, those types of things, and then we'll provide you with one more update before we go to a public hearing that's scheduled in December. So just some of the kind of the draft reports that we're currently working on. We just got the geotechnical report back from EGS. We're in the process of reviewing that geotechnical report. The cultural resource assessment was completed by Search out of Tallahassee, and we're currently working on reviewing that document. Contamination was completed. Utility assessment report was completed. Technical memorandums include the wetlands evaluation report. This is currently in process, and an endangered species biological assessment. And so those two documents are currently in process right now, working through the process. As I said, we'll be addressing the ETDM comments here in the next couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, and then we will be pulling together the draft state environmental impact. On everything that we've seen, we have not seen any critical issues with any of the analysis that we've done so far. There is going to be the need, most likely, for some issues to be addressed with soils, but that will be contained in the engineering report that will be a part of the SEER document. We'll call out specifics to that related to the wetland that's located near 98 there, where potentially there could be the need for some additional drainage improvements that may need to go underneath the runway itself. But again, we're working through that process right now, working with EGS and working through the geotechnical report. They did, I want to think 12 or 16 borings out there. We pointed them in the direction of some of the questionable spots where we think historically that wetland may have been filled in at some point way back in the day, and so there may be some soils issues there, but that's a matter of scraping it and replacing it with proper earth, and then moving forward with some type of a drainage solution. So my time is up, but I'd be glad to answer any questions that you have at this time. But again, the final schedule on this is we'll have a draft pulled together in late October. We'll be bringing that to your staff and walking your staff through that, allowing Wakulla County to kind of comment on everything. But all of this actually has to work through the review agency process first, and then we plan on bringing this back for a public hearing in December.
John, let me ask you a question. When you finish this, what will we have?
So basically what we'll have, it's a great question, is we will know if there are any critical environmental issues with acquiring additional lands to secure the proper runway protection areas around the airport. You do not have that right now because it's just not wide enough. You need 250 feet from the center line. And so what we're doing is we're looking at those properties that would have to be acquired to achieve that 250-foot spacing to see if there are any significant deal breakers from an environmental perspective. If there are, those can still be mitigated or not, depending on how critical those are. But what we are seeing right now, so far anyway, we are not seeing any critical issues that might interfere with that at this time.
So when you finish, what will we have?
We'll have a report, Jerry.
You'll have a report that will tell you from an environmental perspective.
No, that's not what I'm asking.
You can do this or not.
What will the airport look like when we finish? When the next plane lands, what's that airport? Assuming
it will look exactly like it looks right now.
That was my question.
Mm-hmm. However, next steps, once we answer these environmental questions, is then it would be working with DOT to program the design and construction funds to actually level that primary surface around the runway in a manner that's in keeping with the licensing standards in Florida. So no real construction, no asphalt going down. It's just a matter of clearing that surface out so that it's a flat surface for safety purposes.
I think I see where Jerry's going with this. I guess it's akin to building a house. You got to get your permit first. When you get your permit, you spend a lot of money and time. You still don't have anything.
Correct.
Those are just things you have to do.
Well, I was just looking, what difference will the airport be tomorrow than it is today?
None.
None.
Finish all of this.
Yeah, none with this report. However, this report allows you all to move forward with acquiring property if need be and making those safety improvements.
Further
Any other
questions,
questions?
comments? Thank you, sir.
Okay, sure.
Thank you, John.
Next, we'll hear from Ms. Jacqueline Davis, announcement of Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Wakulla County.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
Thank you for receiving me at this time. I have before me, first of all, my name is Jacqueline Davis. I work with Refuge House. I work as a domestic violence counselor. Times past was Kathy Asbell that will stand before you. She recently retired, so right now I'm taking up the mantle until they find someone else to fulfill her shoes. I work in Franklin County and also in Wakulla County. I have before me today the Wakulla County proclamation declaring October 2016 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And it reads, whereas domestic violence is epidemic in our nation, state, and county, resulting in thousands of battered women, battered victims, traumatized children, and broken families each year, crossing all economic, racial, and social barriers. And whereas the children in violent homes are also in danger of victimization and are more likely to succumb to drug abuse, truancy, and emotional disturbances, and are likely to exhibit violent and unlawful behavior in later life than children raised in abuse-free homes. And whereas domestic violence is both a violation of an individual's privacy, security, and humanity, and is a crime which impacts social as a whole, then we conclude that perpetrators of domestic violence must be held accountable for their actions. And now, therefore, I, Ralph Thomas, by the authority vested in me as the chairman of Wakulla County Board of County Commissioners, do hereby declare the month of October 2016 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the county of Wakulla, and ask all our citizens to join together to declare the county of Wakulla a zero-tolerance zone for domestic violence. Furthermore, we ask our citizens to work with established agencies and as individuals to provide women and children the safety which should be theirs by right. In witness thereof, I have set my hand and caused the seal of this county to be affixed, passed, and adopted this day, the 19th of September 2016.
I make a motion that the board approve the proclamation declaring October 2016 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Wakulla County.
Second.
Do you have any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate your work. Next, Dr. Kessler.
Did we already do the consent agenda?
No. We're still in the awards and presentations.
Oh, okay. Let me see that. We're going to be having a workshop, and we're going to talk about that later under discussion items, or at least I will. But I just think that this county was just spectacularly rewarded by the work of the citizens, volunteers, the staff, the many first responders who work their hearts out to restore some form of normalcy in our county. And I'm sure down the line, after that workshop or before or whatever, these people need to hear from the citizens, not only that were directly helped, but those indirectly helped. And I would encourage all to reach out and thank them for the service that they did. It was just spectacular.
If I could add something, Dr. Kessler, I think another thing that stands out maybe in contrast to Leon County, what hard time they have is our willingness down here to help each other out too, and not just sit back and wait for the government to show up, but people get out and they help each other, and that makes a huge difference. I don't think we had any calls from Smith Creek because they all took care of each other out there, and I think that's that says a lot for how our response was that we helped each other too.
Yeah, those are citizens volunteers with a tremendous force in
Neighbors
our
helping
county.
neighbors.
Yes.
Yep, absolutely. My mom called me because Michelle was Richard's wife, is my cousin. You gotta call Richard. He didn't have a generator down there, and he hadn't had a well on in 3 days. So he didn't call anybody. I called him and asked. It turns out his power finally came back on, but just stuff like that.
Yep.
Very good. Good comments. All right, now we'll go, do we have a motion to approve the consent?
And I'll be Mr. Chairman, I'll be speaking to a consent item, specifically the Eli Roberts under discussion items.
At the end of the consent?
Correct.
Okay. Very good, Dewey.
Under discussion.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
about the
Coming up soon,
next
yeah.
thing up. Do we have a second on the consent?
You want approving the consent? I'll second approving
All
consent.
right, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. We have no general business, no planning and zoning. We've already taken care of the commissioner agenda item. County attorney, anything?
Yeah, just one brief update on the unmanned aircraft ordinance. We pulled all of the FAA regulations on that, and just to let you know, it may take a little bit longer than expected because we do have to get approval from the FAA to make any sort of local regulations on that, but we are working on it.
Very much.
That'd be expensive.
No, I mean, it's just going to take time.
Is it going to fit within the free time period of attorney services?
I'm expecting that it will, but I don't know what FAA is going to require, so.
I mean, I don't want to end up spending $15,000 for a drone ordinance, you know what I'm saying? Ms. Barnes would have a field day with that one.
Right. We haven't incurred any additional costs yet, at all, so.
Just if it is going to start costing a lot of money,
I will certainly let David know.
thank you.
County administrator.
Yes, our county cleanup efforts for cleaning up debris is still ongoing. We've our third round on Surf Road, as well as Masha Sands. We've got Wakulla Gardens was hit the hardest in the county, and that's went by there on Friday, and it looks pretty good. We still have some cleanup to do there. We've also cleaned up Shell Point, as of today, Shell Point, and had another round of pickups. And all the coastal communities now are, we've done a really good job working with Waste Pro on getting that done, and we still have some cleanup, but it's not nearly as bad a daunting task as it was, and I just ask for citizens to be patient. We're going to try to get to where we can, but we still, the dump is open, free of charge right now for debris. Please bring your yard waste to the county dump.
And you said there was going to be no more pickups on Surf Road, and
Well, we're going to have to limit that, that's right, after.
I think you've included Live Oak Island along.
Live Oak Island, yeah.
With
Yeah,
Shell.
but we can only go back just so many times, and we've been there 3 times now, so we'll have to survey it and see what we got. But we definitely be having to draw the line.
Okay.
so we're telling people, don't put your stuff in the right-of-way.
That's right. So, anyway, but we're working through it, and everybody's being good. It just takes some time, and so far our crews are doing really well, and I'm proud of them, and I thank them for everything they've done.
How are we looking on the Shell Point boat ramp?
It's open.
Open?
Yes, sir.
Good job.
Yes, sir. It's striped. It was beautiful. Thank you for mentioning that. Cody and his crew, and Brent and Cleve, and Sharik Keeler brought it in for landing on the administrative side. It's everybody that goes there. It's a top-notch, first-class facility, and that's what we want to do. And everything we've done so far has been that. And
How soon will you have gas? How soon will we have gas there?
Baby steps, Jerry, baby steps.
You gotta find the money.
Got to find the money first. Is exactly
Okay.
right.
You call Stan and tell him the boat ramp was open.
Also, the playground is finished at
Woolly Park. Woolly Park Playground is finished there. Playground's going in at the rec park. We've got new lights up at on the walking trail up here. There'll be more going in the future. This is the first round to see how these work, and if these work, and I went by there last night, and it looked really good. We've got to adjust some of the lights, but they're non-intrusive, but yet they really light the park up. And yes, they'll have the Christmas decoration things we can put on the side of them.
Yeah, we want Christmas decorations. I think we're the only town in the United States.
You had it
doesn't
last
have
year,
a-
and you'll have it again this year.
That doesn't have a blue bulb out for Christmas, so we want a Christmas. Also, I know we don't have any money, but Wakulla Station, there's a lot of our people live
Yes.
in Wakulla Station. They don't complain, they don't scream, they don't do nothing, but they don't have anything either. We have nothing in Wakulla Station for those folks.
All
So
right.
keep it on your list. We need to find something that we can do over there, because they probably have 30% of our people right on top of Wakulla Station.
Well, we want to, that you're...
I know
that's a
that.
good point.
I don't want
But
to drone on too much about this, but when I, went Panacea Waterfront, so I took a map and showed them how many amenities are close to that area, boat ramps, welcome centers, parks, and then I said, look at the northeast side of Wakulla County. The closest thing to them is the Newport Boat Ramp.
That's right.
It is.
Campground.
Yeah.
There's a nice park for the kids, but state owns that.
I said the same thing, Randy. It's, I agree with you on that, but now that they've got their park and everything, I still, even though they have a little baseball field in Wakulla, in Panacea, when we find a fence, we need to put a fence
That
around
is
it.
on the list of things to do. We talked about that the other day at our projects meeting.
Okay,
But
thank you.
we're just right now, we're trying to find the money because we got a couple
And
of...
by the way, the Women's Club in Panacea is available for rent. It's a great place. It has a kitchen, and it is available for rent. So if anybody out there is having a wedding or a reception or just a party, we would like to rent the
Always
Women's
a party
Club.
doesn't have any alcohol.
Yeah, can't have alcohol.
Very good.
Nick,
Anything
that's
further?
not a party.
You can still have a party, though.
Patty, any citizens to be heard? Okay, we'll go to discussion items. Commissioner Kessler, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so the first thing I would like to speak about is the bid and acceptance that we did picking the fuel. So, as I understand it, this is a different process from when we go out and maybe choose a county attorney or an engineer. We're strictly built into the process of the lowest bidder unless there's a real exceptional reason.
The lowest responsible bidder is what your procurement policy authorizes you to award to.
Right, and so we don't have a choice once that process is...
Not unless there has been some irregularity in the specifications or the process itself, which I don't believe there has been in this case. And I just want to caution you all, at this point, the award's been made. We did not get a bid protest on this, so I don't want to treat this as any sort of de facto protest today.
Right, and I don't think I'm hearing that from the people in the audience. I think what was presented was that they lost out on that bid fair and square. I mean, that's what I heard multiple times. So I'm assuming that that portion of the process is over, and I think I was hearing them put out reasons that they felt, and I'm not sure that they're suggesting the process is changed, but we have limitations on that, but that the value of having a local responsive supplier. So is there anywhere in our process allowing for that other than the local preference?
Our specifications do not require anybody to be local, and I'd also caution you, just because we may have had issues in the past with a different vendor before our current vendor, does not mean that we're going to have issues going forward with the company that you selected tonight. And I wouldn't want to assume that.
Right, and I'm not suggesting that either in any way, shape, or form. But I think I want to express my personal view on Eli Roberts as having a past track record with our county that has been very good, and I just wanted to acknowledge that to the people in the audience.
I'd like to, if I could add to what Howard, I want to acknowledge too, Nanette. I used to run the Public Works. Nanette handled ordering the fuel and filling the fuel, and we had very good service. So I'd like to personally acknowledge also the added value that you guys brought to the table, but unfortunately we cannot use that in our decision. And it's nothing against you guys.
Now, let me... Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Let me...
I missed the chance to put in a request to speak, so when y'all finish, if it is
Why don't you let her go
possible,
ahead?
I would like to address that.
I'm going to let her speak now. Go ahead and come on up, ma'am. Give us your name and address,
Still
please.
citizens to be heard after this, yeah.
My name is Elaine.
Okay.
longtime residents of Wakulla County. My maiden name was Morgan, my married name is Ferreira, and I have been an employee with Eli Roberts for 17 years. But I'm wanting to mention this as a resident, not so much as a fuel company employee, and that if there is a way in the future to be able to put a notation in there about how your company gets its fuel, it would be helpful for us as a county. Because in the position that I am in as a dispatcher, I actually have the ability to have noticed and watched over the years that when large corporations go to a fuel wholesaler or a fuel broker, as what we have selected and made the choices, and it is following all the rules, and I understand that. But what I have seen over the years is the brokers, when push comes to shove and you need something in a fast time frame, for whatever reason, be it a storm, be it that, pumps broke or something happened and you need assistance right then, they do not own their fleets. They do not have the bulk storage to back up if they have trouble getting fuel from the terminal, like right now, because the pipeline is down. We have bulk storage to back us up and give us some leeway. And that is something that doesn't really fit in any normal criteria for a municipality's bid, but it, having been in this industry, it really is important, because when Mansfield or Onsite or any of the big brokers can't get fuel to you for any reason, because they just don't have the time frame, or they can't get it from their normal distributor that they're sending it through, a lot of times they call us. We get called to go do a lot of different corporate entities because they can't get to them. What I'm coming to you as a citizen is that I know when that happens, and I know it's happened in the past with the county. We've had to come and help fulfill it before we got the bid. You're paying more. I'm paying more. All of you are paying more for that fuel, simply because they could not get it coordinated to bring it to you. So you're paying 2 or 3 levels down the line, because they call their first line of defense to help them. If they can't, they call the second line of defense to help them, and on down the line. And during this hurricane, I fueled many generators for large corporations who had to have their data centers up or their operation centers up. And it was retarded. Excuse me, I'm sorry. It was not logical, the concept that I was fueling for this company who was fueling for that company who was fueling for that company. And this entity, which was 5 miles down the road, is paying 3 levels of tacked on costs. So yes, they did beat us fair and square on the pricing, because they got enormous capabilities of getting their fuel at better rates. But when push comes to shove, are they the ones who's actually getting it for you? And that somewhere down the line in future bids might need to be something that we consider as a county, because I know we will more than likely be paying more than we would have had we went through the local company.
I think something that's a good point. Something that comes to mind is I've seen paving contracts before where the contractor that won the bid could not have subcontractors, had to have their own asphalt mill, I believe it was, and so that sounds like something that we could put in or consider in future bids.
Yeah, the mere fact of having a backup like Eli Roberts has done in the bulk yard that we keep on premises is a huge help, because if there is a reason, like with the oil leak right now making the fuel hard to come through the pipeline, when we have issues getting our transport dispatch to take it because they're waiting in lines an exorbitant amount of time to get the fuel, my side of it is the 4,500 gallon tank wagon trucks. and I load them out of our bulk yard and go drop pieces here and there to keep everybody flowing until we get things back to a continuity.
Good
And
point.
that's what we've done
Thank you.
through
If you
all
wouldn't
the
mind,
hurricanes.
fill up speaker card with
Yes,
Patty
thank
so we
you
have a
for
record.
allowing me.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate
Just
it.
hopefully everything works out, but I can remember several times being in full-fledged panic mode when we couldn't get fuel, remember? I mean, down to diesel just about being out, so it does happen.
Let me ask you a question. We made an allowance for contractors that lived in the county to have a 10%. 5? I would have probably done it at 10, but 5, if you say 5, whatever. Do they have the same opportunity?
No, and we took they could have a 3% discount, and we took that, and it still didn't work.
So the contractors get a 5, we give them a 3.
Even at 5, it didn't work. If you saw the email I sent you, the 5 didn't even work.
So, okay.
So if they were physically located here, they would be eligible for the 5.
That's right.
Is that...
That's right.
Well, now...
And there wasn't a local
Right.
preference in there. That's
Right.
But if there was, it still wouldn't have made a difference, and that was the problem.
Right.
I just know that, I know they feel like they're the backup. They don't get to go to the wedding, but they're the backup. You know, if the bride runs off, you're available. Is that right? And that's not nice for the groom or the bride to run off and you all have to fill in. There should be something that is there anything we can...
Done.
That's already done.
Okay. No, I'm not talking about, whoa a minute, I'm not talking about this time. I'm talking about future. I understand what is under the bridge here.
And we do have 7 employees that live in Wakulla County.
Well, I'm trying to see if we can figure out something.
We got it for the next time.
Yeah, let's figure it out later.
We can figure it out then.
I will mention one other case in that there was a particular landscape company. We had a lady who was very active in the community. She just did everything. Gail Campbell, I'll just name her. Excuse me. Name her. She worked very hard for the county. She was all over the county doing everything. And we gave the bid to somebody else. We didn't give it to somebody else bid lower than she was. They honestly got the bid. But she was replacing the bride at that wedding also. And it's
I think they might have picked up some work with our boat ramp, right? Purple Martin Nursery.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
let's,
Back to Howard.
Okay. And I think we can come back to this and we can get input and proceed from there.
Yeah.
I want to mention one thing, if I may, just, and then we can close
Please,
this out.
if you're speaking in the microphone, and fill out a speaker card.
I just want to address, and I by no means, I appreciate everything everybody said, and we really do strive to do a great job for y'all. My concern is with having folks that live here, as far as a bid goes, and I don't want to change anything, I'm not after that, but I just want you to know, if it wasn't us, somebody else with a local bulk plant and presence in the Tri-County area, you would be much better secured by. Even if it's not us, if it's there's other distributors in the area, I mean, by all means, I want the business, but I just want y'all to know the concept. I'm not coming here trying to go, y'all need to pick us because you need to pick us.
Right.
There's a legitimate concern of a local business with tankage in the area being able to take care of y'all in the event of crisis.
Your attitude is certainly appreciated. We get that loud and clear.
Okay, thank you.
And I think you filled out a speaker card for the first one, so I'm not supposed to do both, but we slid you in, so
Thank you.
we appreciate your comment. Back to Howard.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, an update on the workshop dealing with our response to Ermine. And Scott Nelson will be preparing and doing what he calls a hot wash, where he's going to go to the different key people and get their goods and bads and try to make a summary of that. Those people still will be at the workshop, suggesting that Scott give us that overall view himself rather than go through each staff member. Then you can hear some responses from the citizens, and I'll come back to the citizens' response, the board to discuss it. If time permitting, then maybe citizens can have another opportunity to speak. The intent, again, of the workshop was to identify the strengths that we displayed during our response to the hurricane and emergency, and also to identify the areas that we can improve so that our next emergency will elicit an even better response from us. So that's the intent of the workshop. So we encourage any of the citizens listening tonight, or possibly reading the newspaper, to, if they have any things that they saw that was really outstanding, the way we were responding to this, to let me know. And if they saw deficiencies that they would like to have improved, also to let me know. hkessler@mywakulla.com. So that's what I wanted to say on this preparation for the workshop. The issue of tiny homes will be on the agenda for October 3rd, working with staff, getting that together. The reason I'm bringing it up here is I'm asking, again, for the board to give any input that they would have now as to the minimum square footage that you would suggest. That would, again, also, or directly speak with staff to understand the different aspects that are going to be in the mix as to how we come to what square footage we're going to identify.
Right now, it's 600, right?
Correct.
Florida Building Code, I think you'll you get around 380, 350, and my position, to get into a long conversation, would be meet Florida Building Code, but still be subject to county zoning regulations, because most of these things are little mobile homes. A lot of them are. So that's my thought.
And intend to address in there issues as to guest homes and such, so that we don't have a situation that we may not, unintended consequence for the future.
That's the problem with this stuff, is you will have unintended consequences.
I would,
That will happen.
My suggestion on that is we just stay with what the county square footage is today and work with that. A 600 square foot home is the size of a 2-car garage and a half. If you have a 2-car garage and 1/2, that's about 600 feet. So I think we should stay with our building code, which is 600 is probably fairly difficult for a family of 3 to live in. So, but it is what it is. But if you drop below that, you're going to, it'll get
Dangerous
difficult.
road.
Yeah.
Well, the 600 square feet, and I'm not advocating one way or the other, that was arbitrarily set by the county.
That's right.
It has nothing to do with the Florida Building Code. I don't know what Leon County's is. I don't, I don't know. I'm willing to look at it. I'll go talk to Summer.
Yeah, and I thought we had board direction to move down the line. That's why we're moving down the line.
Yeah.
If we didn't have board
look at
direction.
it, yeah.
Exactly. So that's what we're trying to do, come back to the board with something that the board might want to proceed with. There are tiny homes out there. We have a couple in our county, at least right now, which are under 600 square foot.
All mother-in-law suites are under 600 square feet. I'm going back. I built one for a guy. He wanted his mother to live next to him. If you have a second dwelling that's a mother-in-law suite, it has to be under 600 square feet.
Right.
Typically, they're 1 bedroom, 1 bath, kitchen, living room. You know, a lot of times they're elderly people that...
Right. So what I'm saying is that it's not just the instance where it's a mother-in-law suite. We will address things like that in the ordinance. It is not the issue where you have a family of 3. It could be the issue of having a family of 1 or 2. And this is happening throughout our country right now. And people are gravitating to these tiny homes for whatever reasons, even in areas that are not as dense as cities. So I think it's something that what we're going to try to do is come up with the best ordinance that we can, and that's why I'm asking for staff to speak with, for the county commissioners to speak with staff or discuss.
So you would advocate a subdivision of small homes?
You know, Commissioner Moore, this is an item that came before the board, and the board wanted to look at it and directed it be brought back to us in the form of an agenda item. If you didn't want to do that, I don't know how you voted on this issue, but if you didn't want to do that then, that was the time to say no. If you want to scratch it now, and if there's enough people on the board that want to scratch it, then scratch it. Why have staff spin their wheels over nothing?
I would agree with you. I would not be for this.
I'm willing to look at it as it relates to property size. Maybe we say if you have 5 acres or more and it doesn't restrict, doesn't interfere with your deeds and covenants. There's a whole bunch of moving. But let me talk to Summer.
What's the difference between a small home and a small regular home, a small travel trailer? Well, they all have a bathroom and a kitchen and a bedroom.
You can't live in by our code, you can't live in a trailer though.
Well,
let me give you an example.
We're doing the same square footage though.
Let me give you an example. We got some property out in Smith Creek. Nobody lives in Smith Creek, okay? So let's say you got 80 acres out there, hunting woods, whatever, and you want to build a little cabin, okay? A hunting cabin. You can't do that right now, right?
At least 600 square feet.
It's got to be at least 600 square feet. But let's say you wanted to build a 1-bedroom, 1-bath retirement home or vacation home or whatever. I mean, they're all down at Jack Langston's fish camp. You used to could do it, I guess. I'm willing to look at it, to be honest with you. I wouldn't say you can go in a subdivision in Magnolia Gardens and build one of these, because that's going to ruin your neighbor's property value. But if you have maybe a larger piece of property or whatever.
Unplatted subdivision.
Whatever, but I'm willing personally to look at it.
Not
just a blanket thing saying all bets are off, you can do it, you can build as small as you can want to.
If it's on acreage, that's probably a different
That's
different
why I'm
story.
willing to look at it.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at it, and I'm agreeable to allowing staff to look at it and to bring something back.
Yeah, and I believe...
I'm sure that there's going to be some, that there may be some unintended consequences on isolated incidences, but there are people that have expressed an interest, especially, it is a popular movement around our country, both to build a smaller, like cabin, or also to build some of those like you see on television that are mobile. To live in. So I'm willing to look at it.
4 years ago, I fought tooth and nail for somebody to be able to build a dock on their vacant property, right?
Correct.
It passed, and the end of the world, has it come yet?
No.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
It's going to come up tomorrow.
So, one last item. Last week, Walmart had an event where they initiated online shopping. I don't fully understand how their system works, and I had hoped to receive more information on it, but I'm told that it may be that you're able to online place an order, go to the store, pick it up. So
they're actually putting drive-through lanes, and they'll load it in your...
It's been around for years, hasn't it?
They'll load it in your car for you.
Crawfordville.
I hear.
Summer worked on the...
Pick it up, you can click.
This is a little bit different
groceries to your
concept
car.
than what you're used to ordering online with Walmart. You can actually pick up your groceries through this.
Right.
Basically send your grocery list to them, milk, eggs, they'll collect.
Did they do that for beer?
I did see on their sign this
And
weekend, eligible items only, but that wasn't one of the site
What
plan
items?
review questions.
What eligible?
Eligible items only with the little asterisk. I don't know, it wasn't on my site plan application, so I didn't get that information.
Bull peanuts, potato chips, and beer may not be eligible items.
Tailgate pickup.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Randy.
I was at the CRTPA meeting today. By the way, Tommy Barfield is retiring October 31st. What's his replacement's name, David? No, wrong. Print that.
Philip
Gaines.
Gaynor.
Gaynor.
DOT.
Gaynor.
Good try, Nicole.
Mr. Gaynor.
Yes.
I can't remember
Is
his
it Philip
first name.
Gaynor?
Philip Gaynor, yes.
Yes. He apparently lives in Chipley. He currently is the head state transportation engineer in Tallahassee. He used to work in Chipley. But anyway, Tommy really advocated hard for him, and he's been chosen to replace Tommy Barfield. Now, back to my original thing, one of the things we do at the CRTPA was approve minutes, and I noticed in the minutes of the Technical Advisory Commission, the committee, I'm sorry, which is the advisory committee for the CRTPA, Wakulla County's representative, Melissa, was elected as the chairman. Now, she didn't say anything to anybody, but I thought we should acknowledge that she was elected as chairman. So that's two Wakulla people that have been.
Very
I
good.
was the chairman of the CRTPA, and she's now chairman of the Technical Advisory Committee.
Very
Oh, I
good.
get it.
Very good. Well, I guess this is mainly for the folks at home. In case anyone hasn't figured it out, campaign season is in full swing, and we're just now starting to enter into the mudslinging mode. And so, be prepared. The thing that I would caution folks, when you hear something about one of us, whether it be my opponent, whether it be Richard, me, go to them. Go to them and ask. I received a elections complaint filed against me today. It's the second frivolous complaint that I've received. And this complaint was filed by Ms. Barbara Mansfield Wilson. She stated that I have been writing bad checks out of my campaign account. Now, how bad would that look if that was true? Now, how good would it look if Ms. Wilson had come to me and accused me of that and asked me that question, and I could sit down and, even if she was right, even if I showed her, matter of fact, I did, she could still file that complaint against me. But now she's filed that complaint against me, and I have a letter from Capital City Bank. I've already sent it to Nicole, and so she's got that information, and it clearly states that my account has never been low, never been non-sufficient, there's never been any fees against it. So the only thing I can surmise a person would do that just to put the stigma out there, just to put it out there, to put the doubt in someone's mind that I'm on the board and we're managing the county's money and I can't even manage my own money and I'm bouncing my campaign account. So, I ask people to please consider the source when you see that and reach out to each of us. If you have a problem, we're all approachable. Reach out and ask that question, and these things are easily proved or disproved either way. And so I encourage people to take the high road on that.
A couple of things about tonight's meeting. The senior board does not receive any salary. The senior citizens board does not receive any salary. They're all volunteer. The angels who serve the meals, and there's probably 10 or 15 of them, the angels who serve the meals are all volunteers. They do not receive any salary, and they're there every day. The Pickin' and Grinnin' Band, which is an excellent band, they're all volunteers. They're there 3 times a week. They do not receive any salaries. There's probably 45 people that each week are coming and going to the senior center that do not receive a salary. They're just there because they like the seniors. So I just wanted to bring that out. David, tell me about Massasan. I know we hadn't done our work at Massasan, which is probably pretty good because it just got destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
So now we can do
There'll be a workshop October 3rd that's right, I think that's right, October 3rd on Massasan's, on all the improvements, the NERDA improvements.
It's the state's work, so we're not doing it.
That's right.
I got something else I want to
and how about progress on the Shell Point?
NERDA? The
Yes.
Shell Point Beach?
Yes.
That's ongoing, and they're on schedule to start this winter.
When will they start?
They're trying to start this winter and have it done by the time the regatta comes around.
The spring, okay, so, but our ramp is open and everything there.
Yes, sir.
So the parking that we will have is in place?
That we have right now is in place. We will be adding more parking in the future.
Okay, all right, thank you.
If I could, look real quick, let me say, since we're just discussing, Chucky called me about the item he talked about this workshop. I called April Williams with DOT, who's the woman that heads that. She told me there is another public hearing yet to be held for the Crawfordville section 319, so maybe sometime after that, if we want to, she said she'd be happy to come to the board and give us an update, but probably after the public hearing would be a better time to do it. So that is a good time for citizens to get their input on it, but I understand what he was saying. Richard?
Okay, I'd like to, those who are here from Eli Roberts, I'd like to thank you for explaining that tonight. This is a valid, and I appreciate explaining that process, that we may not have known how that process worked, and it's something to consider going forward in the future. And I wanted to ask David, if we do in the future with our new vendor be placed into an adverse position, do we still have the provision to call upon them in an emergency situation, or do we have to go through? I mean, since they are local, if we were placed in an adverse position with the international provider, the national provider, are we able to call upon them to keep us going the big bulk storage?
If we need fuel, we'll have to call on who we can get fuel from.
Okay.
We need it, we'll get it.
That's right.
We may pay through the nose for it, but...
I have a son and daughter in Atlanta, and they can't get fuel. Their cars are parked on the side of... They can't, I mean, whole Atlanta is without gas.
Motion to adjourn.
And you got
Oh, I'm sorry, do you have something else?
You got one or two things.
Okay,
One
sorry.
thing I wanted to ask on the drone, we was talking about earlier about the drone ordinance that is forthcoming. It's going to take a little process to make that happen, but in the interim, would we be able to just put something in the paper asking citizens not to use their drones around in the proximity of the airport, just
Well, it's one particular citizen currently, and they've already been advised not to.
And I don't think it was in the area of, I think it was like 3 feet from the wingtip.
On the runway. Yeah, it wasn't just in the area, it was...
I don't think Nicole asking them to do anything is, I mean, I understand if it was exploding things in South Chubby maybe, but whoever it is obviously knows there's an airplane or helicopter or whatever it is there.
Yeah, he knows.
Well, I'd like to just kind of weigh in that, certainly I'll look at whatever comes back, but just first glance, I'm not interested in a county-wide ordinance.
No.
I'm not either. I'm only wanting to focus on the airport only.
That was the board direction, was just the airport. It was 5-0.
And,
countywide.
And just finally, I want to piggyback on what Randy was talking about earlier about our citizens, that we have a very, very strong community, and that's one asset the biggest asset that we have are our people, and that whenever everything is down, that everybody just steps in and helps one another. And I have faith that if something like that was to happen again in the near future, that everyone would just step right back up and help one another again. And we're just blessed to have a very strong community. Before the hurricane and all that happened, I had read something interesting, an article that in World War II in London, that they put out banners everywhere that just simply said, keep calm, carry on. I mean, with everything they was going through, they had banners everywhere that just said, simply keep calm, carry on. And whenever I was seeing the way everybody was helping one another during troubles, or during Hurricane Hermine and everything, it does kind of come to the mind that that's the atmosphere and the attitude that we as a county just voluntarily stepped up, and everybody just kept calm, they carried on, they helped one another, and I just think we are blessed to have a strong community.
And I think you and your wife have probably reached a decision that probably a good idea to go ahead and get a generator as soon as it's available.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
We stand adjourned. Thank you for all coming out.